Hi, I'd just like to talk about the universal intelligence that created us. And I've been listening to Krauss videos about, how the universe is an accident, and there's no such thing as intelligent design, and blah blah blah. And I agree with with a lot of what he's saying, and but simultaneously I feel that he is missing the point that he himself exists in order to say that God, as it were, doesn't exist. But the thing is that this man did not create himself that's saying this. Now, if we follow, say, Krauss's ideology that everything's an accident, life's an accident, human intelligence is an accident, it's all just happy accidents, as it were, if you could call the human race in its present form as a happy accident, still, apparently, it's all accidental within organised chaos. Okay. So, basically, he's claiming that there is no such thing as God, as it were. There is no higher consciousness. But then, DNA, for example, needs to be written. And if we look at the creatures on Earth, we can see that when these creatures' DNA has been written, what has been taken into account in the writing of that DNA is the natural environment that these creatures are going to inhabit. So, for example, you have flowers that mimic insects, and we have butterflies that camouflage with certain plants, and we have creatures that are can camouflage themselves in trees, and all these things reveal the fact that the DNA, their DNA as it has been written, coded, has been coded in such a way as to assimilate perfectly into the environment into which it was created, and that created it. Okay. But like I say, if we follow Krauss's understanding, then basically everything that humanity has created thus far is actually just all part of the accident. A car is an accident. Okay. A nuclear bomb is an accident. And actually, these things in their present form, as in nuclear power and motor transport, though it is finally being improved, are accidents in the sense that they cause accidents, they harm the life on Earth, and much of human technology has actually been employed against life and as an oppression on life. The human technology presently makes life difficult for the majority, to the extent that the majority of people are made dependent on what turns out to be a finite money supply that itself is created out of debt, which is a very strange philosophy, and such a strange way of life could only come from a consciousness that fundamentally does not believe in God, in a higher intelligence, and actually believes that the only intelligence in this universe is the men of power, you know, whether that be male or female, on Earth today. But as I say, in that concept then, so a computer is an accident, isn't it? There was no intelligent design behind the computer. There was nobody there. There was no consciousness at work, intelligent, intellectual consciousness that understands nature, that understands maths, okay, that understands technology, electricity. There was none of that there to create that computer. It just appeared. It just came together by accident. It was all purely accidental. But we know that it wasn't purely accidental. We know that in order to create a computer, you need an intelligence, a conscious intellect that understands how it is even possible to create a computer and why we might actually need one. And so, as far as I'm concerned, the same applies to the creation of ourselves as an intelligent species. So whether or not the creation of the universe itself happened accidentally, spontaneously, from nowhere, out of nothing, okay, whether or not that itself was an accident, nonetheless, the processes through time and change that have occurred within the universe since that supposed accident have led to the creation of life and the creation of intellectual consciousness. And so therefore, intellectual consciousness is a part of the universe. That is now a part of universal creation. So at some point the universe achieved conscious intelligence enough to be able to create a conscious intelligence in the form of humanity. And so what would humanity's purpose be on this living planet? And obviously when we look to our ancient history, the understanding of our ancestors, who were much purer in thought and unpolluted by the various myriad confusions operating in our present consciousness of this world, we understand, for example, when we look at the story of Noah, that it was one man who had intelligence enough, you know, he calls his intelligence God, who spoke to him, telling him, be prepared, there's going to be a flood, okay. Now, whether or not the story of Noah is real or not, we know throughout history that in times of floods or any disaster, humans commonly gather up animals as well as members of their own family and flee to safety. And because we live in a dynamic universe on an active planet where all kinds of disasters and things can happen, not by the will of God, but just by the fact that we're living in a dynamic and physical universe that is beyond our control or anybody's control because it's operating according to the laws of physics. Well, we have a universal law for consciousness, abundance in compassion, in order to help protect us and the life of our planet, and care and nurture for the life of our planet, as a mercy to the life of our planet and a kindness. We have been created. And at the moment, humanity is having a lot of difficulty being kind and merciful even to itself, never mind to the life of our planet, which is suffering immeasurably. And we're living in a time where it's casually accepted by the world, a world that is focusing full attention on, you know, an orchestrated and fully organised war on terror. We can ignore the fact that we've been told that by 2045, 2/3 of all the species on Earth will be extinct. You know, this is what top scientists are telling us. We're living in a world where 3 nuclear melt-throughs, uncontrolled, still boring through the bedrock beneath Fukushima. That's just a trivial matter. We don't need to look at that. Instead, let's focus on the latest organised terrorist attack. And we're dealing with opposition against our human rights, and then a controlled opposition that is not addressing the issues, is distracting from the issues, taking people down rabbit holes, okay? You know, all I can say is I grew up in the rabbit hole, okay? I'm out of the rabbit hole. I'm standing in the daylight, and it's a very, very clear day from where I'm standing, and I think it's time that more people joined me instead of joining the people that are presently standing against me, who mostly consist of child abusers and their supporters. And it is time that we get real. And so, you know, to Krauss I'd say, think again. I have sent him some information and a couple of my videos to explain to him that no, quantum energy is intelligent. I personally have experienced and witnessed how intelligent quantum energy is, that it is capable of transforming itself, it is capable of inhabiting our minds. There are thoughts in our minds that exist, they're real, they result in real actions in this world, but those thoughts are not born of any true intelligence. So they're born of a subversion of intelligence that wants to deny true intelligence, because true intelligence will not tolerate insanity. It will not tolerate breaking of universal law, which is compassion. And it's when we understand the incredible nature of our universe, and that within our own minds there is a universe. You know, the universe is within as well as without. And that quantum energy is a real thing, okay? Now, if you were told that your local nuclear power plant has had a major leak, everybody would be taking precautions, wouldn't they? You'd be, you know, told to keep your windows closed, not to go outside, not to drink the water, blah, blah, blah. Everybody would be concerned. It would be a major event, wouldn't it, to be told that there's radiation leaked out into your local community. You're all at risk. You can't see it, you can't smell it, you can't touch it, you can't sense it. But you believe that it is real, because we know it's real. Because science has told us it's real. We've witnessed the effects of it. We know that radiation is real and it's dangerous, nuclear radiation. We know that. And we accept the reality of what we cannot see, what we cannot touch, what we cannot smell, what we cannot sense. And it is exactly the same with quantum energy. It is a real thing. You cannot see it, you cannot touch it, you cannot smell it, you cannot sense it, but it is a reality. It is as real as man-made nuclear radiation. Which, by the way, is completely different from natural background radiation. Because it is ionising. Natural background radiation is non-ionising. It can't penetrate the human cells as ionising radiation can, because it's powered. Now, quantum energy can pass freely in and out of our bodies. And it is up to us to clear our thoughts from the maligned opinions, judgments, beliefs, so-called knowledge of this world, and let the universal golden light energy come flooding in. And to start recognising each other as fellow universal beings. Okay? And in doing that, it does not mean that we all have to join under the banner of a new world order. It does not mean we have to lose our national identity. It does not mean we have to lose our faith. What it means is that we need to each have a good clear out and address the problems that have arisen in our society directly because we've been living outside of universal law and in ignorance of universal intelligence. Because we've been living under rule of an intelligence that has denied our true human being, an intelligence so-called that has divided us, measured us, given us merits or denied us merits, given some people more rights than other people, that endorses slavery, that turns a blind eye to child abuse, and every type of crime. A society where really that operates no differently to what the early Roman Church operated at the Vatican in Rome many centuries ago, where rich people could commit crimes, any crime, and as long as they went to the church and were prepared to pay a certain amount in gold, and they would then be forgiven for their crime, their sin. And that is exactly what is going on still in this world today, that the more money you have, the more power you have to escape from facing any trial for your crimes. And even if you do face trial, you're likely not to be, you're likely to be let free. For example, there was a young guy in America from a very wealthy family. He went out drunk driving, killed 4 people, and he wasn't imprisoned. Instead, the judge said, he was suffering from an overprivileged childhood. And he just didn't realise that impoverished people were really important, that the average citizens were important, and therefore he needed therapy because he was suffering from having an overprivileged childhood. This is the kind of world that we are living in, and it is intolerable at times, and it's a very lonely world. for people who are aware. And as I say, once people are aware that we are each universal beings and each capable of being a host to universal intelligence, then it really doesn't matter what class or ethnicity or faith we are. We have a unity, a connection, a joint connection. And that's why universal law is for all humanity. But it is not a law that demands all humanity lives the same, eats the same, worships the same faith. The idea is that every society, every nation, every faith incorporates universal law, which is of universal intelligence that created us, and it is there specifically to provide the foundation, the cornerstone of unconditional love for the whole of humanity. And the unconditional love is that without condition, everybody is entitled to the beneficence, to benefit from the beneficence of universal law of abundance and compassion. And that law is to uphold our rights, our human rights, women's rights, animal rights, children's rights, earth rights, plants' rights. All of our rights it upholds. And therefore, those rights protect us. In honouring those rights, our leaders are meant to protect us from the people who ignore those rights. But the way our present world is operating is that the people who want to ignore our rights are put on a podium as a political party operating on the right. And those who claim to be wanting to uphold our rights are those on a political party called the left. And we know that there is really no true left, because the left are covertly employed by the so-called right. So they're claiming to be upholding our rights, but in actual fact they just simply support the agendas of the so-called right, which wants to deny our rights, and the people get a few crumbs of concessions is the only difference. Or they want to swing it to the point where you've got a Stalinist type state calling itself communism. And the thing is that no, fundamentally anybody who is standing against people's human rights, who is claiming that there are groups of people in society who can be persecuted, who can be left to live in poverty, who can be left without any access to education, who can be denied their human rights, those people are not a political party, they are a criminal group. And they have no place to be even offered a chance to stand as a leader. And this whole idea of politics is again born of an insanity that wishes to divide us all. That's the whole point of politics, is that politics is what arises from a divided society, because in a true human society it's socialist. Okay, we're talking about a social consciousness, because we are social beings, we are not political beings. But unfortunately, presently in this world, most people are conditioned into being a political being, which, as a political being, it is much easier to discount conscience, to ignore compassion, to be competitive, okay? And it is impossible to win a competition with compassion. Overall, it's the discompassionate who are mostly going to win the competitions. Driven people. And it's a very, very strong drive within the political world. And so, as I say, the idea of politics needs to go, because true leaders are people who are most capable of upholding and honouring and correctly, most compassionately interpreting universal intelligence and law. And we have reflections of universal intelligence as recorded in our ancient holy scriptures. And we also have evidence within those same scriptures of maligned human consciousness. And this is the idea that we sort the wheat from the chaff. You know, like I say, Revelations, discard it. Because, you know, we weren't created by the universe to follow a script. And the whole idea of the prophets was to warn us about how bad life gets when we live outside universal law. Well, I think nobody could deny what we're witnessing today within a thoroughly lawless, corrupt world. And we need to step out of the distractions that they're now drawing us in with about, you know, their false flag events, the war on terror, the war on drugs. Again, you know, what is the war on drugs all about, except creating criminals, creating a criminal and funding a criminal underworld, earning illicit profits for various people, mostly people at the very top, who we know are controlling even the supply of the drugs. And it's all supporting an industry of child abuse at the very core of it. And the thing about universal intelligence is the love. And, you know, and then we could ask, well, what is love? Well, love is, first and foremost, provision. It's satisfaction. It's provision to the point of satisfaction. And we are being denied satisfaction, which has been replaced with pride. Moments of pride. But what is pride? It is really a hollow thing. Satisfaction. Where is the satisfaction? Who is really satisfied in this world? Does pride in your achievements in this world, or what other people have achieved with your help, you know, is it pride, really? Or is it not satisfaction? Are you not actually satisfied? And it's almost as if the satisfactory is denigrated in this world, you know. It isn't enough to be satisfied. We need to be more than satisfied. But once you're getting past the point of satisfaction, you're going into greed. You know. So, satisfaction is the balance. And that is what is so beautiful about the universe, is that it's very satisfying. Our planet satisfies the needs of the life that lives on it. But this world is not satisfying the needs of the humanity that has supposedly created it for ourselves. And that's where we understand that no, humanity has not created this world for humanity. A particular consciousness, a self-creation, has created this world in order to satisfy itself at the expense of humanity, and through denying humanity our natural universal intelligence and our rights to live according to the intelligent law that the universe set as a guide, in order that we can experience a joyful existence on our planet and in harmony with the nature of our planet. And so we've been living very wrong. But now we do have the technology to put it right. And we need to develop the technology that is going to sort out problems like Fukushima. And no amount of false flag events and orchestrations of this world should now prevent people from connecting with their true universal selves. So, you know, there are some who equate universal intelligence to God. And as I say, that what more can God be except a universal intelligence? And as I say, if it arose out of an accident, it really doesn't matter. The universal intelligence exists. And everything in the universe, because it is satisfactory, is provided for. And so, you know, the universal golden light of intelligence is what we're supposed to follow. But as I say, for centuries, human intelligence has been distracted by the light of physical gold, which has taken precedence over the golden light of universal intelligence, the law. People have been persuaded to ignore their compassion, to ignore the law and their natural intelligence, to the point that they've been prepared to sell other human beings and children as slaves in return for the wealth created by the unfathomable belief in physical golden metal, which really does absolutely nothing for nobody. And it is purely our belief and faith in that as valuable that keeps it valuable. And while the gold is very valuable, the children are what? Valueless. And that's why, you know, it's very important that we remove it, we bring our consciousness to a higher level and reach the level of universal intelligence in order to raise our children to a standard of living that they were created to enjoy, which is a joyful life. You know, joy is what we strive for. And joy can be achieved by the sane people find joy under the beneficence of universal law. Insane people who have criminal desires to own and control other people in ignorance of their rights, they do not find joy under universal law. But they are a minority in reality. Although they might seem a majority in this world, that's only because those people are presently infected with the thoughts of this world that has most rewarded that kind of psychology. But once humanity realises the truth, and those thoughts get kicked out of our minds, the majority of people on this planet find joy under the beneficence of universal law, and a minority do not find it joyful because they are heavily restricted. And as we can see, that in a world without universal law, it's the majority of people who are heavily restricted, including our intelligence, while a minority, a criminal psychology, have the most power, the most wealth, and the most control. And that's why it is extremely important now that people do start to understand. We are at the dawn of a new era of human consciousness. And all the events that are happening in the world today are meant to distract humanity from that, to prevent unity, to increase division, and to deny our children of today their right to live in a debt-free, intelligent future. And, you know, I think once we understand the reality, the reality of the quantum energy, we make the connections. At that point, then, we truly appreciate the beauty of this universe that created us. The absolute fantasticness of it. The, the strength of it. Its strength of balance, its strength of foresight, its strength of encompassment, its strength of space. You know, I mean, even space itself, the void. None of this could happen without that void. It be actually existing in order for something to happen in it. And something has happened in it. We've happened in it. And we are not an accident. Okay? We are not an accident. We are an intelligently created and designed species. And we are here to care for, appreciate, look after our planet, learn, improve life, protect life, because life is a very, very precious thing in this universe. And that's why every child is important. And under universal law, you know, we will find balance. There will be no population explosions. Humanity, our children will be born into a world, a completely different world that we live in today. Our children will grow up knowing that they are universal beings. They will learn about themselves. They will learn about what it takes to be a parent. How to relate with each other with respect. How to live with dignity. How to live intelligently. How to care for our planet and the life upon it. It doesn't mean that we won't ever have any problems. Life is full of problems. And the idea that's why we have an intelligence is in order to solve those problems and to deal most effectively with those problems. And ultimately, to protect life. And as I say, you know, all praises and thanks to Jah.